I be this shit, and 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 I be this shit. Now you got
it's T baby, nigga.
And I be this shit, 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 and I be this shit. Now you got loose bowels.
Money on the floor, count dummies on the floor. Never went to school, but this dummy never broke. Onions of the coke, lot of grams of the blow. Good with the mic, but I'm better with the stove. Different color cargos, trying to get a range from a Range to a Benz to a Marcia Largo. I'm cool like Rollo. Every time I hit the club, man, it feel like showtime at the Apollo. My girl in there apostle, pushing the blue Diablo. Me, I'm on my true fit. Davin's on that new shit. She ran up, choosing, tell her park like amusement. If he tryna jack like Tupac, I'm a juicer. Nickname Rufus, boy I go Snoop. Y'all boys mad, that's why y'all hoes choosing. On the block smoking Lucy's with a couple bad groupies. Finna take them to the ring and hit them both with that two-piece.
And I be this shit, 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 and I be this shit. Now you got loose bowels. And I be this shit, 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 and I be this shit. Now you got loose bowels.
Hell yeah, and it pays off. Tryna take my John Travolta, leave your face off. A lot of niggas claim they work hard, but they go soft. I make niggas depressed when I trap, they need Zoloft. This young boy stay snapping, watch a nigga go off. Packing clips, stuffing, bagging zips to the load off. Pros over hoes, get more dough till it show off. Then let it all blow at double O to make a whole star. Shining on my grind and I'm on time and y'all can get lost. Niggas try to rewind, but let me remind them that this shit costs. I'm fucking with a dime, she drinking wine, she say I'm boss. She tell me I'm the best, I take her to Western, time to pop off. Everybody know, in the streets I'm like a block boss. Feeling fantastic foe, the rock man, get them rocks off. You don't wanna shoot, man, I'm telling you I get shots off. We got that 32 case and a Glock 4.
And I be this shit, 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 and I be this shit. Now you got loose bowels.
What up, yo?
Shit, and I be
DJ
this shit, and I
what up,
be
these
this
songs,
shit,
man?
and I be this shit,
Let's get
and
you back
I
with
be
the fix,
this
man.
shit, and
You gotta
I
be the
be
shit
this
if you
shit,
with the fix.
and I be this shit. Now
DJ
you got
Cash
loose
back.
bowels.
You may need this shit, well, I am diarrhea flow. Ever seen a giant? No, well, me neither. My ever 94, but it move like a cheetah. The fix is my fam, got beef and I eat ya. You the shit, how is that? You don't even have a smell. You claim that you're known, but no one even knows your name. You're only known by the kid that had that hot beat that I don't even see no more. All I see is juicing dough, like a vowel A-E-I-O-U. You never ask why, that's why you're number 2. So look, I'ma lock the game down, no master key. Niggas getting mad at me, cause I'm getting deal offers and my agents are free. I go to 5-star hotels and eat for free. You saying you the shit, you ain't even on VIP. You ain't even flipping keys, you was just a driver.